Embroidery applique is one of the most fun, easy ways you can use your embroidery machine. And the nice thing is you don't have to wait for an entire design to fill in and lots of stitches and thread. You could also take any piece of fabric and let that be that center part. So for example, I'm going to put a base fabric down, and then we're going to do fill it in with a white piece of fabric for a butterfly, and then do some green stitching over it. Now this particular butterfly, this is from our Embroidery Essentials online course that we do offer. So you can go to embroidery-essentials.com if you're more interested in learning all about how you can master 15 different embroidery techniques and continue your online journey. And we have hundreds of students that are already in that class. We'd love for you to join us. So I'm going to give you a sneak peek at how these blocks are done. And for example, our first stitching line is actually just going to stitch a placement line on our stabilizer. This is just some no-show mesh, and this will give me an idea where the batting is going to be placed. So it doesn't matter which color of thread I'm doing. I know it will probably barely show here when it stitches, but now I know where to put the batting down and approximately how big our block is. So that's just always a single line. And then we're going to take our batting that we've already kind of pre-cut, makes it a little easier, lay that in place, and go ahead and stitch. This is going to go around 2 times, and then we're going to trim the batting down to the stitching line. So it is not in our seam allowance when we are actually sewing the final blocks together. This course is amazing. We've had so many people comment on how much more they know their machine because of the repetition that they are doing. Every block is different, and they're learning different techniques. So we do trapunto, we do cut work, we do even some blocks that are not, or items that are not in the quilt. They're actually like a zippered bag. We do a lace design. And then I teach you all the things that you shouldn't do, so you don't accidentally do them. I'm going to go to the cut position, and then that way the hoop kind of comes as far towards me as possible. On a small hoop like this, it's not as far as if it was a bigger hoop, but I'm just going to kind of quick give those a little cut. Scissors that you are using for applique, I love a curved scissor. These are actually the Kai brand. They are sharp, and some people have told me they're a little too sharp, but they also can cut batting really quick and easy. So then after that is done, we're going to lay down our base fabric, and that's going to go ahead with the next step and kind of tack that down next. And then it's actually going to start some quilting or some stippling stitching into the background and kind of quilt it so we don't have to quilt it later. It's all quilted in the hoop. That's the beauty of some of these designs here. All right, so what I'm going to do is let us kind of stitch out quickly, and then we'll get to the applique, show you the little trick for when you do embroidery applique. So here's where I can go ahead and place the applique fabric over the entire design area, and then go ahead and stitch. This is going to stitch an outline around, and then we're going to use those sharp scissors to actually trim it out and get nice and close to all the edges, so we get a nice close trim. You don't have any fabric sticking out at any point. I'll show you the little trick here. So applique always consists of a placement line, so I knew where to put that fabric down. I knew how big of a piece of fabric it needed. I'm going to go ahead and do that little trim position. Again, cut position is what it's called here. And now what we can do is we'll just go ahead, and I always lift the fabric up and then push my curved scissors all the way down, and then you can get in and around. Now if your scissors don't cut as sharp or as close as mine are, you might be wanting to try out some different scissors. But I am going to take this hoop off so I can get a little closer. I don't bend in all those directions. Most of the time when there's lots of little crevices, I can get some, but I can't go at all parts. But it really is important that you get nice and close to the stitching line. Almost don't be afraid to even cut into it, and because that satin stitch will usually cover it up. So I'm going to take the hoop off, finish trimming, and then we'll put it back on for the next area of stitching. Isn't that beautiful? I love the way that satin stitching just goes around and highlights all the detail without me having to go back and wait for all those stitches to fill in. And if tomorrow I want a pink butterfly, I can just put pink fabric in instead.